everyone, welcome to Talk Sustain to Me. In today's episode, I'm featuring an amazing sustainable beer brand based in Hong Kong. Breer is a food upcycling startup that turns bread waste into local craft beer. It was developed in 2020 by 4 students at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Their idea won the grand prize and funded Breer's first batch. The brand also won the Innovation Award at the Food Made Good Hong Kong Awards 2022. So now Breer works with 21 bakeries in Hong Kong. It has brewed over 15,000 liters of Breer and sells in over 200 restaurants in the city. I'm so happy to be speaking with one of the co-founders, Naman, today. Hi Naman, nice to meet you.
Hi Natalie, thank you so much for the invitation, and it is our honor and pleasure to be featured on this podcast and sharing similar backgrounds from Hong Kong. We definitely feel that sustainability is the need of the hour in a place like Hong Kong where food waste is so prevalent. And more than that, I think education and awareness about sustainability, not only in Hong Kong, but every part of the world is so important. And thus, I'm very glad that we're doing this and we're able to spread the message of Breer, but more importantly, the message of sustainability to the larger audience.
Thanks for showing up today. Well, actually, I learned about the brand around 3 years ago when I was still studying at HKUST. Breer was promoted at university, and one day I was at the Entrepreneurship Center, and I still remember the room was called The Base. I did a beer tasting there. The beer was tasty, delicious, and refreshing, and I was so fascinated by the sustainable idea of turning bread waste into upcycled beer. And then I bought some beers home. I also shared them as gifts for my friends. And yeah, I'm so excited and grateful today that I have the opportunity to interview you today. I learned that the idea of Breer actually started when you and your team were studying at university, stuck studying online, and a lot of students were drinking alcohol, and that's when you started making your own beer. So can you share more about the story? How did you start from a small experiment using just some home brewing kit and successfully turn it into a startup business in Hong Kong?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, thank you for that introduction as well. But to give you, like a little bit more background is that all the 4 co-founders which started Breer originally, all 4 of us are from Indian origin. Mm-hmm. So we have Indian backgrounds, 3 are from India, and then one of the co-founders was raised in Hong Kong. But the common value which we share across all of us is the value of food preservation and conservation, because in Indian households, we don't like to throw away food things. Mm-hmm. Even if we buy a packet of bread, we'll try to reuse it over 4 or 5 days, but we'll not want to waste food because culturally wasting food is a sin in our culture. But, when, 3 of the co-founders, when we came to Hong Kong, we were like, oh my God, the food waste problem in Hong Kong is ginormous, because the fast-paced life, gets to Hong Kong, and then everyone's like, we don't care about, ideas or values like, not wasting food. And because people are so busy with their lives, they don't care about these problems. And when, we wanted to do something about this problem, but how we witnessed this problem was actually, why I call Breer, the moment of serendipity. Like, it was an idea which was born out of serendipity. And what happened was that you're from HKUST, so you know that we're in, one far corner tucked away outside the city. And it was 2019, actually, my first semester at HKUST, where we were taking our, I think, midterm exam or something like that. There was an exam which was ending at like 9 p.m. And by 9 p.m., everything shut on campus. So you don't have a lot of food options available. And me and my co-founders were hungry. Like, we wanted to get something. And the closest was, I think, a bakery in TKO. So we took a cab, we went to TKO, and we were getting the breads like garlic bread and coffee and whatever we could at that time. And the bakery was near its closing time. I think it was supposed to close at 9:30 or something like that. And, we saw the baker take all the breads which were wasted, like not sold on that day, put them in a black rubbish bag. And then he was going out. And then, naturally we asked the question that what happens to all of this bread? And he's like, I'm going to throw it. And I'm like, why would you throw away fresh bread? You can donate it to the underprivileged. You can use it for so many different purposes or reuse it. But he's like, for me to do any of that, it will be a cost for me, like for me to get it collected, for me to get it, deal with it in any way, it would be a cost for me. And we realized that that problem is huge. Like when you go online, and do some research, like Hong Kong is wasting about 3,600 tons of food every day. Every day we waste close to 3,600 tons, and 47% of all of this wastage is bread. So we waste close to 1,400, 1,500 tons of bread every day in Hong Kong. And this problem like really spoke to us that we want to do something about this problem, and we identified the problem, but we didn't have a solution. And the solution actually came only a week later when all of our all four co-founders, we were in Lang Kwai Fong, and we were celebrating. So we were celebrating the end of our midterm examinations, and all of us were at Lang Kwai Fong, where I happened to see a bartender who was drinking a drink of his own. It did not seem like a drink, which you'd get at a normal bar or anything. It seemed like a very different, odd color. So I, naturally asked the question that, what are you drinking? And he's like, this is a traditional Chinese recipe, which is very popular from the 1400s, 1500s, where they make alcohol using bread. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting. And I had no idea about it. And, that was like, that was the aha moment or the eureka moment that, oh my God, we saw the problem like a week ago, and today I see someone making alcohol from bread. And it made perfect sense, right? Because similar raw materials, similar grain composition. So we were like, wow, perfect. And then we went online and we saw that, earlier, like in Egypt, in China, alcohol was actually made from bread. So it's like it has been done before. It was not like it was a novel innovation, but it's just that in the modern times, we just forgot about it because we had better resources to make beer with, and that's why people stopped using bread. But we were like, okay, let's do some research. Let's do, get online, and that is when COVID hit. Like when we were starting with that idea, when we were doing everything, that is when COVID hit. And we were like, okay, now how do we, try to make this beer? Because, we can't access a brewing facility. We can't do anything like that. So then we bought brewing kits. Everyone, like each of the co-founders in their own respective homes, like bought brewing kits. And we became like mad scientists in our kitchen, like we were like doing whatever possible. And I remember one of the co-founders actually blew up his kitchen, and then we all got a big bashing from his parents that you blew up our kitchen, what are you doing, and things like that. But everything was part of the process, right? And then we had to wait COVID to get phased out, and eventually we learned brewing through YouTube courses and online courses. Like we were very rudimentary about it. And then once COVID kind of cleared up, we approached some breweries in Hong Kong that, hey, can we do like a pilot brew with you? And then, and that surprisingly, the brewer who I reached out to was also an HKUST alum. And then I was like, it always helps to come from a good university because you can find your ways in like this. Yeah. So we reached out to a UST alum. We did our first pilot brew, and it was pathetic. It was terrible. Like, the beer tastes horrible. And then we kept going with it. We did like 20, 21 pilot brews. Some beers were salty, some were sweet, some were not even drinkable. But then we finally came to a product which was like, okay, this is good enough. Like, this is good enough to put out in the market and get some feedback. So that was our, humble beginning, like very humble beginnings. We like, none of us were chemical backgrounds, none of us were chemistry backgrounds. So everything of like fructose, sucrose, everything was going above my head with no idea what's happening. But I think we've come a long way since then.
That's so interesting to know. Could you introduce some of the beer products with us? Like, do you have your own favorite ones?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And, when we started, there's also an interesting story behind this as well. So when we actually started making our beer, we were only dealing in bread, which was easily available because we had limited, bakery partners. Now, fortunately, we have a lot more, but initially we had like one bakery partner. And then whatever bread they would give us, we're like, okay, we'll take this bread and do something with it. And then we started off with very exotic bread. We were using like sourdough, we were using like dark rye, we were using like very different sorts of bread. And we realized that making beer from these exotic breads is actually more difficult because there are so many variables in a bread like dark rye. There's so much happening, there's so many grains, and we started off with these, but then we very soon realized that we need to make it simple, and that's why we resorted to one bread which is widely available anywhere in the world, which is plain white bread.
Right.
Like, no jazz to it. It's like simple bread with no taste of its own. Like if you eat a bread piece on its own, it has no taste of its own, right? So we started off with that, and we launched our first commercial product in the market called the Breer Pale Ale, which is made from plain white bread.
Right.
And that was our flagship product. That was the product with which we entered the market, because we realized that we need to keep it simple, and we created a pale ale because the pale ale is the most go-to craft beer form. If someone knows nothing about craft beer, they'll go for a safe option, which is like a pale ale. And it worked out really well. But then we soon realized that our concept of sustainability, even though it is a very good to have, what we really need to compete with some of the larger players in the market is two things. A, our story, and the story is always there. Like the sustainability story will always be there. But the second you need is different taste, like unique taste, which Hong Kong hasn't heard about ever. And that is when we realized that we need to do things uniquely. So the second beer which we made, we were like, okay, let's not use white bread, let's use something else. What's the one bread which everyone in Hong Kong loves? It's a pineapple bun. Everyone in Hong Kong loves pineapple bun. Yeah, everyone loves that. It's it's nostalgic to Hong Kong. Like it's everyday breakfast for so many people in Hong Kong. And we were like, okay, let's go to local bakeries and collect pineapple buns from them. And then we collected pineapple buns, and we wanted to make an IPA because Hong Kong loves IPAs. But we realized, like I actually realized when we started in the process, but Anushka, who's my co-founder, she knew it before, that pineapple buns actually don't have pineapple. They just look like a pineapple.
Yeah, they just look like pineapple, yeah.
Exactly. So then we were like, okay, we need to add fresh pineapple to the recipe to make it taste like pineapple as well. Because we're dealing with an audience which is a local audience which understands that there is no pineapple, and there's also an expat and a tourist audience. And when you say this is pineapple bun, their go-to expectation would be that they should have pineapple.
Yeah,
right?
True.
So to balance out those expectations, we added like fresh pineapple and created a second beer, which is a pineapple bun IPA, where we use pineapple buns, fresh pineapple, to make like a very fresh tasting beer. Then we were like, okay, we have two products now. What do we do next? So the third beer we launched is a hibiscus sour, where we use the petals of hibiscus to infuse in our beer. And then we make like a beer which is also pink in color. So if you pour the beer, it's poured because it's sweet, it's sour, it's not, bitter at all. So we created a product which, the female population can enjoy, and we can be a more inclusive brand like that as well. So these are our three core products. And then obviously we do like many like special edition products. So recently the three special edition products which we've done is that we did a Pandan milkshake IPA for the Swire group. So we did like a beer with them where we used like Pandan leaves from the Swire rooftop farms, and we made a beer out of that. Then Mercedes-Benz recently did an event in Central, and they wanted some beer, and they wanted a local beer. So we actually used egg waffles. The waffles which you could go to any, like street shop in Hong Kong, and we used the egg waffles to make like a dark beer for Mercedes-Benz. Then Hong Kong Tramways, the trams which run in Hong Kong, they reached out to us and they're like, we want to do a beer with you guys. And then we did an egg tart beer with them, where we used egg tarts to make the beer out of that. The most interesting beer which we've done is that we have a partnership with the Maxim's group, where what we do is that we collect bread from them, and then we use that bread to make a beer only for the Maxim's group, where they sell the beer in all of their restaurants. So we started with a white bread beer, which was the simple, easy go-to, but we wanted to do something else as well. And Maxim not only owns bakeries and restaurants, but also owns cafes. Like they're the ones who own Starbucks in Hong Kong as well. And we were like, why stop at bread? Why not do something else as well? So we realized that the one wasted resource from these coffee shops is that it's the coffee grounds. So if you make coffee, you get the concoction and the powder is left. we were like, if we want to make a coffee beer, why use coffee flavoring when you actually have a wasted product which you can use as coffee flavoring? So then we now collect the coffee grounds from Maxim's, we collect the bread from Maxim's, and we make a coffee stout for them, which uses the bread, which uses the coffee, and we make a very, very palatable stout. And my go-to beer today, like these days, because this was winter, my go-to beer was a dark beer, which was the stout. So my two favorite beers in my collection is the IPA, the pineapple bun IPA, which is really good, and then the stout. These two are my favorite beers.
I just want to drink so much beer right now after listening to your sharing, and I just knew that there are a lot of very unique flavors, and I really like the egg tart one and the Bolo, which is pineapple buns, because they're two of the most traditional or local flavored food in Hong Kong. Now let's talk about some sustainability concepts. Like, how do you feel Breer has made an impact to sustainability in Hong Kong? For example, like what you shared in terms of food waste, circular economy, upcycling, or maybe promoting local partnerships, local businesses, or perhaps raising awareness on sustainability.
Yeah, I mean, Breer, I think the one reason why Breer is able to do so well, it's because, and I say this with, absolute humility, it's because of the fact that all founders are deeply connected to the purpose. We as a company have never sacrificed even for 1 second the purpose of this company, which is to, eradicate food waste, eradicate breast waste in Hong Kong. And when you're scaling, you always get opportunities to trade off the purpose for more profit. And we as a company have never opted for the opportunity of doing that. And some of the examples I can share about how we create an impact on sustainability is that, first of all, we try to connect whoever is drinking our beer to the cause which we're trying to support. So if you go on our website, if you go on our Instagram, you'll see that the packaging of our can, on the left side of the packaging, we already communicate the impact of what the person is making in terms of a sustainability impact when they drink one can. So if you drink a can, you know that you're saving 20 grams of bread, you're saving 30 kgs of carbon emissions, you're saving 9 centimeter of landfill capacity, you're saving a certain gallon of water, and which SDGs are you supporting? So you're supporting SDG 12 and you're supporting SDG 13. And we communicate this very clearly to every customer. So it's on the left side, and we also have a QR code on the right side that customers can actually scan that QR code and read the same impact and read that what does that impact actually mean. By you saving this, what are you doing? What's the impact you're trying to make when you drink this can? And the underlying cause here is that, people are going to drink beer or alcohol anyway. So it's not like we're promoting more alcoholism or we're promoting more people to drink. We're a sustainable alternative. So if you're going out on a Friday and you want to drink, might as well drink a beer which is tasty, but it allows you to have a better conscience at the end of it, that you did something good as well. So that's the first part. The second part is the fact that, when we make our products, we don't sacrifice on quality. So when you look at our products, we use recycled aluminum for the cans. So our cans are all recycled aluminum, which is expensive compared to others. We don't use glass bottles because Hong Kong doesn't have glass bottle recycling facility as of now. So we make sure that we don't engage in glass bottles. Third, and the most important I feel, is that currently what happens is that if you use cans which have only plastic labels, those cans are a very big hassle to recycle because those plastic labels do not peel off, fully, and then you're not able to recycle cans. We intentionally use soy-based ink labels where, those labels are easily peelable. So when you're, if you put the can under water and you peel it, you'll be able to easily peel off the label from our can to make sure that all our cans can be recycled after as well. So these are some of the initiatives which we take to make sure that, we're not only talking the talk, we're walking the walk as well. If you're saying we're sustainable, we're fully sustainable. And the second element where we try to be really sustainable is sustainability education and awareness. Like we, really value that, and that's why it's definitely like, like a part of our business model where we need to go out and speak at universities, speak at high schools, speak at, companies, and we don't only go and bore them with sustainability education. We actually make it fun. And what we do is that we have this mini science experiment where we would go to any, like school, college, organization, company, and we give them like glasses, hot water, and a slice of bread. And we tell them that, like fill this glass with slices of bread and then put hot water in it and let it rest for 10 minutes. And then you'll see how the starch from the bread actually separates into water. And that's my, like one word message to them is that this is not rocket science. Like we were able to figure this out as university students, and you don't need to know a lot of information. It's not rocket science, and it will only take you one conscious decision to be able to become more sustainable. So that's what we try to propagate. We try to be sustainable when we sell our products. We try to be sustainable when we make our products, especially when we make our products as well. We do a third-party audit on all of our emissions. We do everything possible to make sure that we're not carbon negative. I won't make that claim. I think we're not even carbon neutral right now, but we're working towards that. It's not like, we're not working towards that, but in Hong Kong, it's very difficult to be either carbon neutral or negative. So we're trying to work towards that. And then obviously there's the education component as well. And the fourth element is the products which we're trying to create, which is we don't want to stop at bread. We want to use other resources as well. So we will not I gave you the example of the coffee grounds beer, where we're going to use coffee grounds to make beer as well. But now 2024, I think we're gonna not even restrict ourselves to beer. Like, you'll be surprised that if we have so many ideas that, there's fruits which are ugly and supermarkets reject them. And then the second layer is that there are fruit peels and vegetable peels which go to waste. Why not use them as flavoring agents into our beer? Or might as well not even do beer, but like do a juice with it, do a seltzer with it, because all you need is flavoring agents, right? The rest is only water. So one aspect from our business which I'm really proud of currently is, so when we make beer, there's a residue which is left in the end called brewer's spent grain. And right now it's a big hassle because Hong Kong, everyone throws brewer's spent grain, and it's a big wastage resource as part of the brewing process. And we were like, we have to make a waste-free supply chain. If we also start throwing it, there's no purpose. And it's very nutritious because it has yeast and it has protein, it has grain, so it's very nutritious. So we made the decision of actually donating all of this to a pig farm in Hong Kong to make sure that it's sustainable. And now we're actually working on research of using this brewer's spent grain and turning it back into bread. So we'll start with bread, make beer, use the brewer's spent grain, and make bread again. So we'll start with bread and end with bread, and that would be, I think, one of the world's only closed circular economy loops.
Yeah, that's a lot of meaningful and interesting share. Thank you so much for showing up today and sharing such amazing stories of your brand. For audiences, if you like drinking beer, you should definitely try their products and to support the sustainable beer industry. If you want to learn more about the brand, you can visit the website or you can contact the man for more details on LinkedIn. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned to see you in the next video.